Yeah, Mike is he's going through treatment right now. We're having the walkthrough right now, so we'll give you guys the injury report. But he's going to be doing treatment today, and then just going to be day to day as the rest of the week goes on. Coming out of the game, Bryce Callahan and Kenneth Murray, those guys will be at practice this week. Joey Bosa will be full in practice this week. And then I think something that of note, as we told you we would, we're going to activate the 21-day window for Rashawn Slater. You will see him at practice. He is not going to play in this game, but we are going to open up the window for him to start practice. He's progressing well, and we're excited to get him back out there and with the football team.
Is just opening the window, if the game was Sunday or Monday, would there have been a chance that he could play, or just this week, irregardless, wasn't going to be the case?
This week, that's not going to be the case, regardless of when it was played.
Are you hopeful that if you guys make it past this week, that Rashawn could be
back? I think we're just going to take advantage of the window and take it day to day, but he's progressing well enough to get out there on the football field. And like I said, he's been working really, really hard. So I think just having him out there at practice is going to be great to see, and then just where he goes from there, I think it's kind of day to day, but we're going to open up that window and try to take advantage of it.
Brandon, for a team that hasn't been in the playoffs, several of your young guys haven't been in the playoffs, how do you ensure that they aren't just happy to be here?
I think we've taken guys from really, really successful college programs too. I think in the last two drafts, I think we've taken people who are very, very accomplished and been in the big-time atmospheres and played at the highest level in college football. I think that's been important to us. And then just leaning on the experience of, the leaders on this football team. I think that, you follow the examples of others that are really impactful, and I think that that's why we were intentional about onboarding, the veteran-type players that we've been able to onboard in the last 2 years so that they can provide that leadership to the younger guys. And I think that we've got a team that's full of really, really quality experiences, and I think it's been really fun to watch this group take shape together to carve its own path here with the Chargers, and we get a big opportunity on Saturday, to really make our mark.
Personally, what is it like to coach your first playoff game?
It's really special. I think it's, you dream your whole life to be able to compete at the highest level in sports. That was always my dream as a young kid, was to be able to compete at the highest level in sports. And, to be on this type of stage where the best of the best are all in one tournament, that's where you want to be. And experiencing the playoffs before at the other places I was at, that's certainly the case when you make it to the playoffs. It's the very best players, the very best teams, very best coaches, very best organizations, and that's where you find out a lot about where you are. And we're excited that we're here, and like I said, it's just the beginning.
You said in the past that you don't want to be giving your players the floor. Is this a week where you kind of lean on Kyle Van Noy, Sebastian Joseph-Day, guys that have been there before and have gone on those long stretches in the postseason?
Yeah, Fernando, I think for sure. I think that that type of experience where it's your brothers that have gone through it, it's always the most impactful. The players who have gone through it, and I think that we have a really good combination on our coaching staff of guys who have been in Super Bowls and guys who have been in the NFL playoffs, national championship games in college. So I think you lean on all that experience, and our players know that. Since we've gotten here, we have that type of atmosphere where you can really trust the people that you're around, and bringing out the best in one another. But you want to be that player-driven team, and there's nothing better than when you have a player who has gone through the same exact thing that you're about to go through. So I think all those guys like Kyle and Khalil and these players that we've been able to bring here, the older players like Keenan that have been in the playoffs, and we have so many team leaders, Corey Lindsley, all these guys who have been through it, they're going to really have to lead the way for us.
Just going back to Mike for a second, is the expectation still that he'll practice at some point this week?
He's day to day. I think that you'll see him at practice at some point, yes.
Could he play in the game if he did not practice this week?
I think that's fair to say, but I mean, we expect him to practice at some point this week, and what capacity, that's to be determined.
And then just with Joey, you mentioned that he's going to be full. Is that just in relation to coming off the surgery, or was there something that happened in the game?
Yeah, no, he just kind of like Justin last week. How you list a guy on a report, but they're full. That's just the nature of it. It's just he's going to be on the injury report with a groin, but he'll be full in practice tomorrow.
This is a new ground for Justin. What main qualities, the makeup of a player that separates somebody who performs well in the playoffs versus good quarterbacks who don't perform as well in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think Justin's whole life he's performed well in these type of games, in these type of environments. I know that when he was at Oregon, his last season at Oregon, he did about all you could do as a college player: Pac-12 championship, Pac-12 MVP, championship game MVP, Rose Bowl MVP. He's always played his best when the stage was the biggest, and that's been how his career has been in the NFL. Prime time, the big games that he's had for the first 3 years, he's always risen to the occasion because that's what type of competitor he is. And I think now just getting that stage where he's joining up with his teammates. There's a team around him that's really excited to compete, and be a team out there. So, he's going to have a good week of practice like he always does, and, I know he'll be ready to play.
What's the challenge will be for your defense with Trevor Lawrence and his ability to spread the ball out right now?
Yeah, they've done a nice job, Lindsay, offensively this year. I think, they onboarded a lot of quality players in free agency, drafted some guys, and, I feel like they're really solid all the way around. Skill players, being able to run the football, throw the football. I think that they take care of it. Their offensive line, they've been able to suffer, withstand some attrition on the O-line and still play quality football down the stretch. And, Trevor's really had an outstanding season. And we knew that, in the first game he played a really good game against us and, really has done a nice job leading that team down the stretch to help get him in the playoffs. So, they're a very complete offense. They're balanced, well coached, and they definitely have our full respect. Well, I think you have to do a really good job on early downs. I think they do a really good job getting into third down and manageable. They do a good job of distributing the football to a lot of different people. They make you to defend a lot of different people, and that's a sign of a good offense where it's not just about one person. So I think that we got to make sure that you do all the things that are necessary to playing good defense, which is being ahead of the chains, making sure you're physical at the line of scrimmage, putting a roof on the explosions, and trying to take the football away.
You mentioned how Trevor played in week 3. It feels like he really turned a corner down the stretch of the season. Watching the film back, how is he different now heading in this playoff game as opposed to maybe that week 3 match?
Yeah, I think just more experience, more time on task in their system, more familiarity with their skill group. I think their skill group has been intact the whole season, so I think just him having that chemistry with that skill group, and you can tell that all those guys have in the skill positions have really improved down the stretch as well and featuring what they do well. And so I think they've done a good job playing to Trevor's strengths as a football player, and he's the same player that he's been his whole life. Coming out of Cartersville, Georgia, he's always been a really good distributor, a guy that's a playmaker, a guy that can play well in the clutch. So again, he's having a great season.
Lawrence, I think that he gets rid of the ball quick. How do you combat that on defense?
Yeah, you just got to play team defense. You can't be playing. You can't have a bunch of mental errors where there's guys open that he can hit them. So we got to play team defense and make sure that we force them to execute and not give up a bunch of easy completions or free plays because guys aren't doing the right thing.
Robinson was their main back when you faced him in week 3, but how much of a challenge is Etienne?
Yeah, Etienne's a really good back. I think you've seen it all season long. Had a lot of respect for him coming out. He's a complete back. And I think that's what he's shown. He can run between the tackles, outside on the perimeter. He's a good pass catcher, does a good job in pass protection for a young player. So, he was a high pick, in the first round, and you can see all that talent on display, especially as the season progressed. So, he's been one of the keys, I think, for their football team playing at a high level down the stretch.
How does your job as a head coach differ preparing your team for a playoff game versus a regular season game? More film, less sleep? Have you noticed anything different about the way you go about it?
Well, everyone here knows, you treat every week like it has a life of its own in the NFL. And every week demands that full respect from you as a competitor. And that's the way I've always tried to live. And, they're all the most important games in the world to me, And I think that that's the only way that I've ever known how to compete. And that's what I've tried to bring to this team. But what happens in the playoffs is, every play, every possession is magnified. You have a ton of film. You have 17 games worth of film for someone to watch, and it's extremely well scouted. And I think that that intensity, that attention to detail, and the quality of the players makes for every play, every possession counting at a high level. And so you're seeing the best of the best every single play. And so, you just really got to focus on the things that you do from your first day in training camp, which is your assignment, your technique, and the energy you play with, and making sure that you do that consistently down in and down out.
Weeks ago, you mentioned Justin questioned that quarterbacks' reputations are typically made in the playoffs. With football such a team game, I mean, what do you think of that idea? And I think we all understand why that is, but just the way that reality that quarterbacks face.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one position where, someone associates a record with you and, championships and, for your legacy and things like that. And it's one of those types of positions, and that's what makes the position special. And the reason why is because that position has such a big impact on your team, on your organization, on the landscape of the NFL. And, in the NFL, the history of the game has been written, in 2 minutes, and normally in 2 minutes you need your quarterback to come bring you back and do something special, and so that's just the way it is. And in the playoffs, everything's tight, and, more often than not, you need your quarterback to make big plays for you and also elevate the play of everyone around him. And I think that's the big thing. That's the nature of the quarterback position, is you got to elevate everybody around you, not just your offense, but your defense, your kicking game, your fans. That position elevates everything. And, I'm sure glad we have Justin Herbert.
It's Doug Pederson, such a good offensive schemer and play caller. What challenges does he present in that area?
I think he does a good job protecting the quarterback, getting the quarterback in rhythm, on schedule, well protected, high completion plays, the marriage of the run and the pass. I think he puts a lot of pressure on you in situational football, 3rd and 4th and short, red area. And, you can tell that this guy played the position at the highest level, and that he's thinking about his quarterback. And that's how he's always been as a pro coach. And so he's doing an outstanding job with Trevor this year for sure.
How much more with Pederson, too, is kind of expecting the unexpected, because he has been known for trick plays during the playoffs, maybe more so than the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, Doug's got the full, command of his team, and he knows how to use, those players. And, I think that what he's shown is that, people can get, labeled aggressive, but I just think what he's going to do is he's going to put the pressure on you. He's going to try and put the pressure on you and force you to defend. And that strategy has worked out really well for him, since he's been a coach in this league, and, definitely has our full respect.
What have you seen from them defensively?
Really good front seven. I think a very complete front seven. Both their D-line, their edges, off-the-ball linebackers. I think they're really, really solid. They're deep. They run well. And then a secondary that's, got a lot of talent in the back end. I think their 2 safeties are fantastic, Cisco and Jenkins. And then they've got 3 quality corners that play for them. And one of the guys that I used to coach, Darius Williams, who I know really well, and Tyson Campbell's an emerging young player. And so they've really played really good defense down the stretch. And when we played them the first time, we knew that they had a lot of good pieces, and they've improved since then. So very, very complete defensive unit.
Coach, Corey Linsley didn't play that game in week 3. You played against him in the playoffs. You were with the Rams. How important is his experience in the playoffs for that young offensive line?
Yeah, it wasn't a good day for me when we went against them in the playoffs. So that was part of the motive of joining forces, because he's that impactful of a player. So I'm glad that we get to compete together. So hopefully we can even up that record. But Corey's he's such an integral part of our entire team, not just our offense, and just what he does for us in the run game and the pass game. Situationally, the leadership in the locker room, there's just a lot of wisdom there. He's been in a lot of these moments, in the playoffs, and, certainly going to lean on him this week. And to get, he's just the engine of the middle of our offense. So glad we have him. He's healthy. He's playing really well. He's played very well down the stretch for us. And we're going to need him to play at a high level and lead at a high level for us here in the playoffs.